I mean, there's a whole Hispanic at the table now, so who knows what's going to happen.
So, Mark.
Yeah.
You're building a space station.
Okay.
Right. You put all this money into it.
Okay.
All right. Why are there hobos on your station?
Oh my! We couldn't even get 5 minutes in before the hobo ran.
Why are there hobos on your station?
So I believe, from my understanding, the given explanation is that they are contractors who could not afford the trip home.
You don't round them up on a bus and just send them out?
Who's paying for the bus, John?
And they're all going to different places, John.
They're out robbing. They're murdering.
Who's paying for the bus?
People who aren't robbed or murdered.
No, we can't. In our real world that we live in, we can't get people to agree to like 1/4 cent tax to fund educating their children. Look, we're not going to get them to pay for deporting the murder hobos.
No, absolutely not. Right now,
my God.
If it wasn't for the Constitution, everyone and Maitland would send all the hobos out to Zellwood.
I do think it would be very, very cool to have John at a street corner, like doing the up and down at the red lights with a bucket that says to deport hobos.
There's no Constitution in space.
Wait, no, I gotta stop you there.
Hobos are gone.
Why do you assume that because they're in space, the Earth Force has removed the Constitution? No one has rights.
Look what the banks did with credit cards and debit cards. Credit cards, too much rights, too many rights. You can file all kinds of claims. When the debit cards came up, they're like, we're not giving any rights.
But clearly, because there are hobos in the station, they didn't do that. They still can't just space those hobos.
What are you talking about, you crazy, crazy man?
I'm just saying, you already know there's a hobo problem. As soon as you see that there's 3 hobos, you're like, this, nip it in the bud.
No one does that. That's why California has the worst hobo problem.
Because there's a Constitution that says you can't get rid of the hobos.
This has nothing to do with the episode we watched. Can we get off of the hobos?
But space station, no inherent Constitution. It's not even the U.S. It's the Earth Force. It's like we could get some Russians to be like, hey, no hobos. They can put a no hobo rider. They don't care.
They could, but they clearly didn't.
Mark,
that's not a thing they do, or they just don't care. Or like Earth Force doesn't care that there are hobos.
You're aiding and abetting this.
Mark,
it's like you don't want us to talk about the show.
I'm just waiting for. I just wanted John to feel like he said his piece about the hobos.
The only thing John's going to say the whole episode. Mark, we can't get off the hobo conversation because nobody will pay for the bus to take us out.
So, episode 15 of season 2 was "And Now for a Word," which was a very special episode. We followed ISN reporter Cynthia Torkman through 36 hours on Babylon 5, and we're gonna just talk about one episode this time. So this is a very special episode of Virgin Viewing.
I enjoyed this episode primarily because they were able to further inform us on how Earth, the culture on Earth is changing, and the government on Earth is changing without devoting a shitty B or C plot to it, introducing a stupid character. They were able to do all this. Well, I guess they introduced Miss Torkman, but they did all this in kind of a more elegant way, and it was really cool. Like she kept asking all these leading questions, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it.
They also introduced Senator Ronald Quantrell. As the voice of the Earth Force government.
But they'd had a senator before. They had like an Asian senator who was like the head, and so we know that there's a senator, and conceivably with the presidential change and all that stuff there in the election, there would have been new senators.
That was Senator Bob Asianson.
Yeah, what nationality is Quantrell? Can anyone at the table tell me?
Sounds kind of French.
I mean, nationality, or do you mean like the origins of the last name? Do you the character? What
the
etymology?
Is he from?
Like if I'm accepting in this universe that this senator, and he's an Earth senator, right? Like he is on
Senator
Earth,
of Earth, yeah.
Elected to the Earth Senate. And his name is Ron Quantrell?
Yeah.
Where on Earth does Ron Quantrell hail from?
Delaware.
Central Los Angeles.
I mean,
how many people named Quantrell have you met?
How many people named Quantrell have you met?
4. It's a pretty big family.
I don't think it's really relevant to the plot. I'll give you a spoiler. Earth Alliance Senator Ronald Quantrell is not important.
Oh, does he lose his his appointment?
He's not a cast member of Babylon 5. He's just the senator that ISN could get to answer the questions for that particular 36 hours.
I did notice that the senator seemed a bit more middle of the road than definitely the interviewer than Torkman was.
Do you think so?
Yeah, like he was definitely feeding her a little bit, but he pulled her back from being crazy. Like it's like if Sean Hannity interviewed a senator and like yeah, immigration and stuff like that, but we need to have common sense immigration reform and all this other stuff. He's not talking about vigilante justice and like executing migrants as they cross the border and stuff like that. He seemed pretty cool. What he said that Babylon 5 still served a purpose. Like he admitted that what are you talking about? What did I miss?
Mark, you were making a face.
That is his face.
Are you? Do you feel the same way I do about?
No, I don't feel this way about.
I don't either.
Anything that. No,
John, do you remember this episode at all?
No, I watched this episode like a month and a half ago.
Okay.
I don't remember anything.
Okay, but John, what's your opinion on the senator?
Yes.
All right. First off, the senator's responses were completely designed to be that sort of politician doublespeak where I can't tell you how I really feel, but if you read between the lines, you'll know. I mean, it's how they crafted that character. It's how they crafted that part. It's in line with the politics of the 90s where you didn't have politicians rampantly saying stupid shit the way that they are now as freely or as openly. They had to toe that line. So if you watch it with that mindset, it's blatantly obvious he's way further along the spectrum than she is, especially when you consider her almost completely not foreshadowed face turn at the end of the episode where she spends 40 minutes essentially bagging on this station. Then it's like, but you know what? It's a good thing, and we need to let it fulfill its promise. But that's getting ahead.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's why I said that I liked this as kind of a mirror to show what Earth was becoming. Is because we've already seen, spoiler alert, we've already seen through here that Earth culture has changed from when the shows first started, and it's becoming a bit more exclusive and jingoistic and stuff. And so the reason I enjoyed it is because these leading questions, and even in the stupid like faux commercial in it that was really cool. Like you can see that certain agendas are coming to fruition and are gaining power and gaining momentum and stuff like that. And you know, she talks about the newly formed Office of Public Morale, and they give us this new polls which says the new president is the best president ever to ever lived. Like clearly she's a mouthpiece for propaganda.
Was that an actual poll? This is how many people approve of this president? Yes. I don't think that was a poll in the episode. I think the poll was how do people feel about Babylon 5 now versus a few years ago.
No, it was talking about the new president. There's something about since the new president
took office, support for Babylon 5 diminished, and that was the two polls they were showing.
Exactly.
The first poll was under the previous leadership. It was in like the 30% didn't support, and now it was close to 50%.
Either way, the fact that a new agency called the Office of Public Morale it has suddenly happened, like that's straight up fascism stuff. I'm saying that this episode showed what Earth culture was becoming, and it's becoming more polarized, specifically against aliens. It's becoming more human centric and human first and Earth first and all that other.
Did we get any opinion or polls about the hobo situation?
As long as they're hobos, it seemed fine. Also, hey, fake Cheech Marin showed up again.
I thought I'd need this because of John, but here we are.
Fucking fake Cheech Marin shows up again and starts talking about the Dockworkers strike. I was happy to see him again.
Yeah, a nice callback.
I know. I liked it.
I was wondering if he was a recurring character.
There was an episode. There was an episode where they had a Dockworker strike and they had to deal with it.
All right.
So he's a recurred character.
Yeah.
Mark, they have Mexicans working the dock in space.
The 90s were a different time, John. The 90s were a different time.
Like you can pull. So it's Earth. It's the Earth Alliance or Earth, whatever the hell it is. And out of all the people in the world, it's like we need some Mexicans on the dock.
But they're not the hobos because they have jobs. Now I'm doing it. Damn it! Why can't we get away from these hobos?
You can't. It's part of the show now. So what did you guys think about the not the framework plot, but the actual conflict of the episode, the Narn Centauri scuffle?
I thought it was really cool. I think that it was particularly convenient that the shooting war came to Babylon 5 when the news crew was there. That was pretty lucky for the news crew and stuff. I don't know. I really liked seeing Londo and Jakar's characters in this kind of situation where Londo is trying to, control them and appeal to humanity, buttering them up, stroking them off, all that other stuff. And then Jakar comes at it from, guys, we were oppressed, and these guys, these funny-haired bastards are assholes.
John, I'm going to let you go first because I know my perspective is going to be way different with this being the first episode I saw.
I already said I watched this episode a month and a half ago, and I don't remember any of it.
Knowing what I know of the series from listening to you two.
And our very informed opinions.
It painted a very specific picture of the conflict. It definitely painted a picture where... because of you two, it's so hard not to say Lando. Let me just throw that out there now.
I don't say Lando.
Like 6 episodes of nothing but Lando, and now I have to stop and listen to myself say it every time. Londo.
Also, he played by an actor named Peter Jurassic.
Oh, that's a pretty cool name. But Londo...
In the park.
If I were 1994 Mark watching this on a Friday night, just flipping through channels, and this is my first exposure to this series.
5 years old.
6 years old. Thank you very much. But if this were my first exposure to this series,
you'd be like, why the f*** are there so many hobos?
I would have very specific opinions on who everybody is and what their point is. Londo looks like the unquestioned villain. He is slimy as hell. He is painted as nothing but duplicitous.
Kind of fat, too.
Who cares?
In the 90s,
unlike you, I don't have a weird thing about fat elves or fat politicians or fat whatever.
In the 90s, the fat guy was crooked.
Not always. John Candy made a lot of movies in the late 80s, early 90s. Chris Farley.
That's different.
That is not different.
No, that's comedy.
Oh, my God. So the point
comedy, the fat guy is lovable. Everything else, the fat guy is a villain.
Londo isn't a villain because he's fat. He's a villain because he's a sleaze.
They were fat and had some sort of like mental deficiency or illness. Then they can be the hero in the 90s.
So dumb and fat. Okay, kind of goofy and stupid and fat. Fine.
No, not dumb and fat. Like developmentally disabled and fat. Then they can be a hero.
I might need one of those too, Mark.
So you wind up with Londo as your unquestioned villain. There's no seeing him develop. There's nothing like that. He's just a slimy sleazeball politician who's in it for personal gain. And really, it does a great job of doing a terrible painting of his whole race, quite frankly. I don't know if that was intended or not. Then you get the green guys. I'm sorry, I could not put names to this stuff yet. You get the Green Ridge guys.
The Narn?
Yeah, the Narn. You get the Narnias.
I don't think they're green. They're kind of brown.
Green?
Brownish, greenish. Look, when you're watching on a phone screen on your lunch break, you just sort of try to absorb as much as you can.
I want to give you shit for it, but John didn't watch the episode.
They came off as very sympathetic, but also very brash and bullheaded, almost sort of Klingon-esque. And I know your thing about, we're a Babylon 5 show, only talk about Babylon 5. Media doesn't exist in a vacuum. Other things exist. Comparison is inevitable. He comes off as very like Klingonish, very straightforward, a little brutish, but very much in the right. And so you sort of wind up with this clear thing where humanity is in this weird position where they're in the middle, sort of unwilling to take a side. And it's just very strange. You don't often see humanity in that diplomat, not the cause of all the shit position.
I like how Mark has 6 hours of like built up John hate from today, and he's just letting it go. I know, John. 7 months ago, you said this thing. Well, here's mine. Mark is a YouTube comments show right now. He is our YouTube comments episode.
Any comment about the little Psycor commercial?
I actually... It was very difficult for me to rewind and pause at the right moment to get the subliminal message.
Brother, try it on a mobile phone.
Oh, I'm sure.
That was 5 minutes of sitting there with people around me wondering why is Mark hunched over his phone, just double tapping as quick as he can.
I did write it down. It said, "The Psycor are your friends. Trust the core." Which sweet subliminal message, Psycor.
Admittedly, that's super cool. Because if this were my absolute first, no other knowledge or experience of Babylon 5 going into this, having missed a season and a half of development, that one moment is enough to tell me these are some bad douchebags.
Yeah, they're faces.
So it's very effective and done very well in a very short amount of time. Very clever. Props to that.
I think the only other thing I had starred was, I think the last thing, or one of the last things that somebody said was they said growth comes from struggle. I think that might have been Torkman talking. And that sounds pretty ominous considering that we're approaching the end of the season. And there's plenty of time for something absolutely terrible to happen.
Isn't there still like a third of the season?
7 episodes left.
Great. That's plenty of time for something absolutely terrible to happen.
That's not approaching the end of the season. I mean, by that manner, everything from episode 1 is approaching the end of the season.
I'm trying to make it easier for Mark because he's got 50 episodes to watch before next time we film. So.
And I'm sure I will watch all of them, and no gaps in my knowledge will be evident in the slightest.
Absolutely true.
No, you're practically caught up just by watching our videos because they are so perfect.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice and get thrown off by the fact that Captain What's-His-Face kept making these weird Monday morning quarterback references?
Captain Sheridan? Yeah. Yeah, he did say it more than once.
Yeah.
Monday morning quarterbacking.
I don't know if that was on purpose or if they just didn't notice that they threw it in twice in one episode.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might be the second one.
90s was
That's what it felt like.
90s was catchphrase time. They were trying to make T-shirts.
There was also Sexy Doctor. I can't remember his actual name.
Dr. Stephen Franklin, Sexy Doctor.
So Sexy Doctor was giving his whole like dramatic interview where he's like, people make jokes about getting knocked out of airlocks, but I don't think it's a joke. And
that was very
whole
funny.
thing, right?
I do remember that.
Which, first off, like that's a conversation unto itself, first and foremost. But I only bring it up because he made a really weird reference to like cartoons and limbs moving in cartoons or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, have we not, in the 200 years between Looney Tunes and this show, have we not moved past that as a society, apparently?
Oh, man, you have a lot to learn about Garibaldi. So here's this, right? And I didn't notice this the first time I watched the episode, but I definitely noticed it the second time. Is Dr. Stephen Franklin, like, trying to cover up an accidental murder that he did? Like the way he explains what happened is like, yeah, this kid I knew wasn't even like one of my friends. This kid I knew when I was young was goofing around and hiding and stuff to jump out and scare people, and he happened to hide in the airlock, and he must have pushed the wrong button because there are so many buttons in the airlock, and none of them are labeled "Don't touch, you'll be in space," and he accidentally touched the "Oh shit, I'm gonna die" button, and nobody could save him. The only person who was there who saw what happened was Dr. Stephen Franklin, and help couldn't arrive quick enough before his buddy got spaced and just floated there in the airlock for a while. I think Dr. Stephen Franklin is hiding a murder.
You know, I'd actually be kind of into that because it would add a really interesting edge to his character, because all I get from him is hearing you guys talk about how he tries to sex up every pretty girl, including his own patient, apparently, which I'm with you there. That was skeevy as hell.
In the 90s, you can't be Dr. Sexy and murderer and black. It's too many things.
Real quick, I want to give a getting off of Sexy Doctor for a second.
Nobody wants to get off Sexy Doctor.
I know, right? But for me, I want to give a shout out to Ivanova. I was really worried I wouldn't
Ivanova?
like her. Ivanova, yes, thank you.
I did it this time.
Did you notice that? She mispronounced her name.
Oh,
I'm saying it wrong?
Torkman said it wrong.
you.
Yeah,
Torkman said it
I
wrong
remember hearing that,
twice,
but I thought that was just...
when I first watched it, when I watched it recently, I picked up that I think that's on purpose because Ivanova makes like a face.
This place is under the watchful eye of its perky and energetic commander, Susan Ivanova.
We're all green down here.
All right, make one more sweep, pulling in whatever you got, then head for the barn.
Commander Ivanova.
I like that character, so I'm glad I apparently missed the season where she was nothing, because I dig it. I'm into it. I get really big. I'm a big Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan. I get some Rosa Diaz vibes.
Whoa. That's not a sci-fi show that you can reference.
Media doesn't exist in a vacuum, Poncho.
I have another question for you guys. Why is Mark here?
Mark's here because John wants to do other stuff, and John has other projects that John wants to work on, but we can't just have Poncho and Ramsey talking about a show. So we brought Mark back. Yeah. Also, we already joked about replacing John with Mark, so we thought we might as well just do it. So I know we only did one episode rundown for this particular Virgin Viewing episode. If that's something you guys want, you guys can let us know. We specifically did it this time because it's a good episode to do a single episode in. We're just bringing Mark in. We don't want to wait for Mark to watch 50 episodes before we recorded this again because we were getting all this popular support. But we're contemplating doing one episode per episode so we can get stuff out a little bit quicker. So if that's what you want, let us know. Otherwise, we'll probably split the rest of the season down to 2 Virgin Viewing episodes, hopefully. So yes, let us know in the comments section below, down there. Should we have play a sad song for John on the way out?
Why would we play a sad song?
Just show a slow montage of John not reacting to things Poncho says.
Do you think it's been long enough for the Incredible Hulk? We can do the sad Hulk ending theme and not get copyright strike.
It's not sad.
What are you? What?
I'm sad.
Why is this sad? I don't particularly watch shows the same way. I don't care for sci-fi. You're a better fit. It's not sad. I'm very happy to leave. I'm just gonna watch Babylon 5 on my own. It's not sad.
Oh, this means every time we come into film, John's gonna spoil the next 5 episodes.
No, he won't. He won't because
he can't watch. He doesn't have Amazon Prime.
No, I think he can get Amazon Prime. My point was he's not going to remember what the happened in the episodes, and John might still make appearances on future Virgin Viewing episodes. We'll see.
Mark, next time. How many little bottles for Mark?
9.
He went through all 3 of those.
One little bottle.
Bottles.
That one was gross as hell.
2 little
Just
bottles.
that one, though, huh?
The Fireball is fine. It's cinnamon. It's whatever.
It's 30% syrup. All right, goodbye.